Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Cover Two. As again, what another hell of a weekend of football, fellas. This was picked to be the weekend of all weekends for college football, and it kind of lived up to it a little bit. I would say. I know me and Buddha enjoyed our games thoroughly, um, especially myself. Um, I know Bo enjoyed what he could because he was at a wedding, but hey.
Dun, 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 dun. I mean, there's wedding, but
Exactly. Um, well, let's start off with both teams since his quarterback decided to show up in a powerhouse shootout game that they had with Stanford. Riley
I,
Leonard with 3 passing touchdowns. Like,
yeah,
what's going on there?
think Leonard looked pretty good yesterday. I mean Notre Dame, they came in and did what they were supposed to do. A lot of pressures on their on Stanford from the quarterback perspective. Their receivers didn't do anything yesterday. They had Stanford had more rushing yards than they did passing. So I mean Notre Dame came out, did what they do best, stopped the pass, tried to contain the run, and it hasn't looked great obviously this year, but. Um, Kept him from winging one up to Io Minor, who I was kind of worried about the whole time. But yeah, so Notre Dame came out and got the win. Let Stanford score in the first quarter, and then shut them out the rest of the game. Dropped 49 on their head. So yeah, Notre Dame came in, kicked ass at home.
Who does Notre Dame have next week? Hopefully, it's not one of the service schools.
I think is that no. I think is it. I think it's FSU next week. I think.
Oh, okay. So
I
that's
think I think it's Florida State next week, but I could be wrong because I think it was Florida State and then it's Army, then somebody else, then Navy, and then USC. I think something like that.
3-2-1 Bulls got to eat the dog poo because this is that we've got back awesome college football weekends, and we have a chance at a third one if Florida State was good because we'd have multiple good games. And this guy's just not poo, so Florida State. So now it's like, okay, well, I'll just watch Texas Georgia. Yippee!
exactly. Some other games that we had. Let's touch the pick'ems that we got. So we had K-State, Colorado, which was pretty much a shootout. K-State came out and looked dominant in the first half, and then Colorado was fighting to get back in the second half. And then another big news with Colorado, Travis Hunter exits the game and doesn't come back in. Took a nice shot to the shoulder, and then just kind of immediately left the field and then didn't touch the field again. K-State's quarterback, I think he went out 2 or 3 times. He actually left the game, went in through the tunnel with a hip injury, and then came back in and started playing again. But K-State walks away with that one in a tough battle that we thought would probably determine the Big 12. But I think everyone's concerned is what's going on with Travis Hunter now. I forgot how many total snaps they said he had before that. I think it was like 43, if not more snaps in the first half because of both sides of the ball. So it's like,
I mean, man, you can't play football at the rate he played and not be injured at some point. I mean, he's playing over 100 snaps a game. Like,
yeah,
at some point, catch it's still football.
Exactly. And it showed when he wasn't in the game. Like it showed. They didn't have another big weapon that they needed down the road to get the win. It was huge. Then the one that everyone will be talking about for a while, but just because of situational awareness, Ohio State, Oregon. What a shootout and what a bonehead move by your starting quarterback. What do y'all feel on it?
Will Dak Prescott Howard? What are you doing? What? And then he slides, he gets up, and he looks around like he's confused that how could this have ended the game? He's like, "What do you mean? What happened here?" Like he looks like Scooby Doo. He's like, "Roll!" Like, what? You slid to end the game. Like, what? Are you
He's looking at Ryan Day like Shaggy, like ruh Raggy, and then he's looking at him like, dude, like you fucking slid you into the damn game. They had every opportunity to win that game. They should have put it away early and slowed it down. I mean, Dylan Gabriel can sling the rock, and it's your first big game in the Big Ten, and you lose like that. I mean, I don't know. I got a lot to say on that, but we can cover that on Tuesday. But
And you're in field goal range too. So if anything else, you run an out and you throw it to one of your receivers to get out of bounds, and you still have timeouts left, or you run something, you take one shot at the end zone, and then that's it. Because I forgot how many total seconds were left on the clock. There were more than I know when he slid.
4 or 5 seconds on the clock.
I don't understand it, and I was just like, wow.
Ryan Day doesn't win the big games. Like, we got to have the conversation at this point. It's like what he doesn't do. He wins every game he's supposed to win, and he loses the big games. It's what he's done. Because I think now he's only got like 7 losses in his coaching career, and they're all the 7 he needed to win.
Yeah.
He'd rather give away a couple of the other ones to have those 7 back. Like, I think he's now only lost regular season games to 2 teams, to Michigan and Oregon.
Which is crazy. Oh, one that I didn't have for us to talk on, but we can touch on it real quick too. Penn State, USC.
I've got a lot to say about that game because that game was phenomenal. I had USC winning that game, but Penn State, I don't know what happened to Drew Aller. He came out and actually showed up. I was genuinely surprised. I mean, I don't even want to say their defense showed up because Miller Moss, I mean, he was picking them apart. I mean, winning in overtime like that, and I'm pretty sure USC missed a kick in overtime for Penn State to get the win on that. So these kickers missing in like clutch moments. I mean, what's been up with that recently? Because I mean, lot of teams been missing some field goals. So
Pat McAfee was kicked. That kid drilled it yesterday on game day. Speaking of kicking, he drilled it. Bring that kid out there. Also, speaking of kicking, I know we just got off the Ohio State game. You know, Ohio State hasn't made a 50-yard field goal in over 5 years.
I didn't know.
That is insane.
Yesterday from like an Ohio State Twitter account, and they're like, we haven't made a 50-plus yard field goal in 5+ seasons. I think it was 6 years ago. It's the last one they made.
Did not know that one at all. That is nuts. That is crazy. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that one because SC came out firing. Like, it looked like SC was just going to blow them away, and I was like, oh, here we go, Penn State again. Penn State's doing what they did to me and Buddha last year. They looked great all year, and then as soon as they play somebody with some competition, the wheels fall off. But turns out it didn't happen that way. As USC gets its 3rd loss,
They're just the week off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's because they had Taysom Hill out there. Taysom Hill threw on a Penn State uniform, went out there and played.
I wish he
their tight end cleaned up yesterday. I mean, cleaned up.
Hey, Bo, I'm going to warn you, though. Learn from Pete and I. Do not get on the Penn State wagon.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, don't worry, I'm not. I've seen enough of Penn State. Illinois about beat them, and I know damn good and well because Illinois almost lost to Purdue yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that game. It was 50-43 in that game.
What?
Yeah. Illinois was 22-point favorites, I think, or 18-point favorites going into that game. And Purdue came back second half firing, about lost. But we're not covering that game. But, yeah, I don't trust Penn State as far as I can throw them. Whatever.
Is that both at a wedding, Pete and I were locked in watching football. But we were so locked in on our games that Bo's the resident expert on the games that happened yesterday that weren't our 2 games.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, I got stats on everything.
I was like, TV for forever. For the whole Red River game and the whole LSU game, I was like this at the TV.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, tequila, beer, whiskey, high noon, Dos Equis. Yeah. Just like,
every once in a while, you're like, I'll take a bite of this, I'll take a bite of that. Oh, we got a commercial. We got a commercial. Let me scarf something down real quick because I know I'm drinking a lot of alcohol.
Ooh, guac. Ooh, piece of sausage.
Yeah, at one point when me and you were talking about the Texas game, Bo Texas, he goes, "Hey guys, I know y'all are kind of busy right now and you have other things going on, but Notre Dame's winning right now." And we're like, "Oh wait, y'all are playing?" We were like, "Wait, yeah." We're like, that's hilarious. And then what was great was when you sent us that video, I looked at it and I laughed and I was like, me and Buddha are like locked in on our games. And Bo is locked in following every game. They're in the middle of a way too. I'm like,
I was checking every single game out, trying to get so we can have some content for on Tuesday when we record.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
But
100%. Speaking of those two big ones,
also, I messed up on Notre Dame's schedule. So they have Georgia Tech this week, then Navy next week, and then Florida State.
so that's two tough ones before Florida State. Like that's
Yeah, really. Really, yeah. I mean, how this year's gone, yes. Georgia Tech is going to be a tough game. Navy's going to be even worse. But I mean, we need to be looking forward to the Navy game in Heisman Horvath, not Georgia Tech. But
yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Before we get on the big two that we were locked in onto, we got to touch on our boy Peso Pavia with another one.
Came in and beat Kentucky. I said that on the live. That was going to be a trap game. That line was too big, and they just got done beating Bama. You have to come out. Kentucky's offense sucks. I mean, it's bad. Their defense is good, but their offense did not show up yesterday. And Peso Pavia took it and ran it all the way to the end zone, buddy. All the way to the end zone.
And before, like, I keep forgetting about these other games that happened as well, just because we were so locked into ours. Georgia escapes. They win by 10. Sloppy win. Kirby Smart pushing a kid. Like, wow.
That's number 2 for Georgia. That's their second shaky one. They normally don't do that. They have one shaky one a year. They snuck by Mississippi State yesterday. I know it was a 10-point win, but sloppy 10. They could not get the run game going. Carson Beck looked good, finally. I mean, that's the first good game he's had all year, passing.
Yeah. And then, also speaking of shaky, what is going on in Tuscaloosa? South Carolina was given every opportunity to win that game and just couldn't get it done. And Buddha's been saying it all year. He's been saying, hey, South Carolina's a sneaky good team. That defense is good. That defense is good. That defense is good. And, man.
Their D-line.
Like,
legit. Bama's got a thing right now where they're just not. I mean, like, they're one of their top receivers outside of Ryan Williams is a Walsh transfer. Like, they don't have the personnel they had. And like I said before the Georgia game, they have a legitimate issue in the secondary. They're not good back there. Lenora Sellers is not a good passing quarterback at this point in his career. And he looked he looked good. Bama has a real issue in the secondary. I think I saw the stat during the game. It was like, since they started playing Power 5 schools and this season, they've given up like 20 plays at 20-plus yards, 5 touchdowns over 20. Like, it's a nuts. Like, it's just not a good defense. They're okay up front 7. It's the secondary. Like, it's like people can throw. I mean, Georgia did it to them too. They beat Georgia, but you can throw the ball.
That touchdown at the end of the game when he got one foot in was beautiful. I was like, oh my goodness. And then he goes and he misses the 2-point conversion by a horrible overthrow. And then they get the onside kick, which I was like, oh shit, here we go. Like, they're gonna get in the field goal range and get a walk-off one. Like, they just couldn't. At that point, they couldn't get the ball into any type of field goal range to give them anything. But it was a crazy one right before the big one started off for me. But before we touch on that one, let's go to section 214 for Buddha's big game. What a hell of a game.
Hey, Lane. Hey, Minty, you're still little brother, bitch. That's how it works. Death Valley at night it never fails. What a game. Unbelievable. I talked about it earlier in the week with Ole Miss's pass rush. Doesn't matter. It was a make-believe thing. They got these cupcake sacks. They didn't have a single sack last night on LSU. LSU held them to 0 sacks. Incredible performance. I think Will Campbell graded out at 92.8. Unbelievable game. Maybe number 1 for me all time watching LSU games. Got to watch the overtime with my grandpa on FaceTime, who's not doing good. Introduced me to LSU. Unbelievable. Was just one of those, like, just I'll never forget it. And I get, like, LSU's had bigger wins, but it was like one of those I needed, I think. I think I needed it. for my own mental health. Unbelievable. LSU didn't lead the entire game until literally it said no time on the clock. Kyron Lacey's a menace. Odell was probably handing out cash on the field again. That's his move. Shaq's the biggest man to ever walk the planet. Just an unbelievable, like, what a gritty win. Because I guarantee Ole Miss is going to look at the stats today and go, how did we lose that game? How is that possible? LSU had like 58 yards rushing. And Nuss, you got to give him credit. Nuss is just going to keep slinging that thing. And he made some bonehead decisions, but he going to keep slinging it. And he just kept slinging it. And look out, boys. The schedule opens up for LSU. They're 5-1, and the whole thing's in front of them. And we might have a real big one at the end of the year. We might get an LSU Texas SEC title game, which could end in fist fight.
Which would be outstanding.
Unbelievable.
And I text you throughout the game. I kept saying, hey, Nuss is just slinging this thing. He just needs the defense to get some stops. And I think he'll be able. I said, I think Nuss will win y'all this game. I think he'll win y'all this game. And we got to give credit to LSU's D line. I think they had like 6 or 7 sacks.
They played. Blake Baker called a great game on defense. We were concerned with that defense going in. They played outstanding compared to where the expectations are set for what they can do. They played phenomenal. They made big plays. They got sacks. They turned the ball over. They just made it happen. The best player on that defense, though, was the crowd. The best player on that defense was the crowd.
The aura of Death Valley, if you never knew about it, you saw it firsthand on that, especially in the start of overtime. Ole Miss couldn't hear anything, and they were on the opposite side of the student section on purpose, and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't get the play calls in right on time. They couldn't understand it. People were jumping off sides. I think the first series there was like 3 false starts to start in overtime. Like crucial time to make mistakes, and you make them in the worst possible situation.
Get ready with me TikToks and start everybody getting this team ready to play in a loud atmosphere. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, also, like, I'm looking at this camera, I might be cross-eyed right now because I want to tell everybody that, dude, I drank an egregious amount of alcohol yesterday watching. I was so stressed. Unbelievable. But Lane Kiffin, the fake and injury sting, soft, don't matter. Here's a real injury, Lane. You got 2 losses and you spent all your money and you're still worthless. You're still little brother. You're still not anything. You're still just a glorified Mississippi State. Go play in your Egg Bowl because that's all you're ever going to win. Because you ain't winning Death Valley.
Oh, man. Outside of the win-loss column, Jackson Dart did look pretty good. He looked good running the ball. He looked good throwing the ball. They just couldn't get it done when it mattered. Nussmeier was just, like we said, he was just on fire. He did make some mistakes. Like the one that he lofted up that was picked off, like I didn't understand that one. I don't understand why he threw that ball. But then he'll come in and he'll throw a dot like he started doing to Lacey, and I'm just like,
he'll make an NFL throw where he throws one in like a window where you're like, how did he get that there? And then he throws the ball up, and you're like,
exactly. That's what I said. I texted you and I said, why does it look like he's rushing some of his throws for some reason? Like when he sits there and he gets his eyes around the field, he'll throw a bullet, and you're just like, first off, you got big nuts for throwing that pass, and you completed it. And then he turns around, and like you said, he'll make a throw, and you're like, who is he throwing into there?
He's also got the thing, I don't know if, like, I can remember it vividly on that last drive. It was 4th down, and he stepped into a throw to Mason Taylor, and as he winds up to throw it, I'm like this. I'm like, oh, that's a complete one. Like, because he was on rhythm, and he stepped into it. I was like, I trust him. It's the one I panic is when he just kind of floats one up. But when he into that ball, I was like, oh. And then the touchdown pass, not to end it, but to tie it, that's a big sack throw. I mean, it's 4th and 5, and if that's it, and he threw it into a window.
Absolutely. Speaking of Mason Taylor, I texted during the Texas game, and I said, hey, and we'll touch on him once we talk about that game. I was like, hey, Helm is the best tight end in the country. How about tight end play in college football? How much has it stepped up in the past few years to where you're like, holy shit. Mason Taylor's catch when he stopped himself. I know when your elbow touches the ground, you're down. I understand that. But what awareness to stay up. And because I thought he scored, I was like, holy I was jumping up and down going, holy shit, that just happened. That
I was,
just
I was like, well, there's a lot of time left.
I loved Helms' yards yesterday. That was one play I did take yesterday. So I knew he'd have a really good game, but yeah, there's definitely a tight end we're going to be touching on when we record for the actual episode next. So
White boys on the map. White boys
Yep.
on the. We're out here. We're out here, man. Plays. We got 2 quarterbacks playing today. We got tight ends back on the map. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Let's touch on it. Let's touch on Red River. It was a fun one. I, like Buddha, was just drinking rapidly through this game. Texas is no longer one of the teams that never trailed in a game. As OU got its first points in the first quarter with 3 and didn't cross the 50 after that. After the first quarter, they did not cross the 50. What a hell of a game for Texas and the Texas defense. They were playing an atrocious offense. Quinn played his worst game, and we still won by 31. So just think if Quinn would have been on point, that'd have been crazy. Another thing that stood out to me, Texas's run game showed up. Wisner decided to, hey, y'all need a running back. I'll be a running back. And all around hustle play, breaks one open. And when he broke that run open, I started screaming, secure the ball, secure the ball, secure the ball. And he fumbles it. And how about Silas Bolden running down the field, jumping on the ball to save it from going to the back of the end zone for a touchdown? A guy that doesn't get as many reps. He's our punt returner, but Silas Bolden hustling down the field for a touchdown. All around hustle play right there. Kind of reminded me of the Jay Witt fumble against TCU last year when Quinn threw a pick and Jay Witt chased him down and caused the fumble. Just being Johnny on the spot, you see the ball, you want to go and get it, and they did. But let's touch on this Sooners offense, man. They only had 4 passes. They had
horrible.
4 passes attempted for 10 yards down the field. And on those 4 passes, Hawkins was 2 for 4. Like, they're just not good.
It's their fault. It's 100% their fault. Because before I go in on this offense, that OU defense is good enough to beat anyone they play. I know they gave up 34. It's really hard to be good for that long against that good of an offense when you're on the field the whole game. That defense is really good. In the first half, that showed. They kind of controlled the game a little bit, and they kept them where it was like, if we can just make a play. The offense might be the worst in the Power 5 or Power 6. It's pathetic. But I don't feel bad for them. This is their fault. And this is also to OU fans, too, like who are mad now. You can't be mad now because when you ran off, you had a Mercedes-Benz in the driveway, and somebody showed up with a cardboard box, and you went, ooh, I want the cardboard box. I don't know what's in it, but I want that because it might be better. It might be a Lamborghini. It's not. You got an 04 Honda Civic. And it's your fault. You don't run off. You do not run off a good thing. And then now they're coming out going, well, they came out and said that that's not accurate, that he was going to leave regardless. All offseason we heard, no, it was a mutual thing. We wanted to go to Arnold, so you ran off Dylan Gabriel, and now you don't have a quarterback. Yesterday they were talking to the TVs, is Jackson Arnold going to come in? I'm sitting there going, he ain't coming in the game. He ain't coming in. He can put his helmet on. He ain't coming in the game. They are inept. And they got a bad O-line. They got bad receivers. I don't even know if they have a running back. I think he might have been out there, but I don't know. He could have just been like the Dr. Pepper throw challenge guy standing back. I mean, the offense is pathetic. I actually think Michael Hawkins is an okay player. He's just young. I mean, that was an impossible challenge for him. But I don't feel bad for you. You did this to yourself. This is a Brent Venables thing. That should be a fireable offense. That you have a good defense and you ran off a guy who was a top 10 Heisman guy last year, who just won a huge game, and you ran him off because you wanted to see a freshman who played like shit in a bowl game, who you had to bench. So you did it to yourself. This ain't got nothing to do with Texas. This ain't got nothing to do with anybody. You did it to yourself. You did this. This is not a situation where it's like, well, we had some injuries. I know there's injuries. You ran off the quarterback. You ran him off. Now you got to live it. You made the bed. Now you got to sleep in it. I don't feel bad for you. You suck on offense. You ain't going to beat anybody worth the shit. Because if somebody can score 10, you can't match it. Because you can't do anything on offense. It's disgusting to watch. It's gross football on offense.
And I thought I was going to go off on OU. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you hit every nail on the head with that one, 100%. And one thing that I did love though, their great value, Bosworth, Stutzman. Did you see his comments after the game? He said, "Oh, we after that interception, we just kind of let them do what they wanted to do. Like they didn't do anything to surprise us. We just kind of gifted it to them." What? You gifted 199 yards passing, Quinn throwing and rushing for a touchdown. That was a gift. You gifted Wisner for 13 carries for 118 yards and a touchdown. That was another gift. Like, dude, stop. You lost. You didn't look good whatsoever. You had your little horns necklace that was upside down. You made little T-shirts last year for an upset win. You didn't do shit this year whatsoever.
They need to stop and start praying to him.
I mean, oh man, like, and honestly, like you said, Buddha, their slate's only going to get harder moving forward.
By the time LSU plays, it'll be like, oh Jesus, like we got to do this right now.
I don't know who's going to be taking snaps at quarterback by that time because they'll probably try to go somewhere else. Hey, and like you said, like my source told us last week, they said Jay won't see the field. They'll put a show on like he's going to play, but he's saving his red shirt. He's not touching the field yet again. And they kept panning to him like he had his helmet on, throwing the ball and everything else. But no, he had. And Brett Venables came out and said it too. He said, "Hey, at no point did I think about switching quarterbacks." Like, exactly. they're gonna save face and they're not gonna come out and say, "Hey, the kid's done playing for us." But it is what it is. Another thing that I loved that I thought was hilarious. This is why I love Steve Sarkisian. So Brett Venables in the media said that if when OU wins, he was going to have his first Fletcher's corn dog from the fair. What does Steve Sarkisian do after they win? Walk into the press conference and says, "Hey, I got a corn dog, y'all." and is eating a corn dog as he's get on stage. And they're like, "How is it?" He's like, "It's wonderful, man. I was starving, so I had to get something." I was like, "Dude, that is."
Sark got a peanut head. We can't miss that. Sark been a grown man. That helmet, that hat went on his head. He's got a peanut head. Sark's got a peanut head. Sark.
Yes, you did. You did point that out, and I said it, man. That hat's small. It's always been small. You always see players trying to figure out how to put it on and keep it there. And Sark put it on during the That's the first time I've seen them do an interview and the hat go on during the interview. It was awesome though. The kids loved it. You saw everyone passing the hat around and having fun with it. Quinn didn't play his best game, but hey, he got the win at Red River, which is what you always want to get. And the hat's back in Austin where it belongs. All around fun game. Fun. The atmosphere, the aura, everything about it was good. And then we went right to Death Valley. So what a great night of football. And like Buddha told us throughout, we were so locked in to our games. Bo was just coming in with all the stats and everything else. He would just be like, "Hey guys, I know y'all are locked in, but this is also going on in the country," and updating us as stuff took place. And what a hell of a weekend of college football. And hell, we got one coming up that's going to be fun. We got Georgia, Texas, which will be. Oh wait, another question before we get to that and before we close it out. Was this your alpha statement from Texas that you were looking for, Buddha, or is there more in the cupboard that you can see from?
No, I think as we sit today, they're best in the country. Like I said, I wanted to see what Sark looked like as he's supposed to be a winner. And how do you lead from the top? And he dominated a top 20 team, which I don't think they're a top 20 team, but he dominated them.
Yeah.
And look, right now, as we sit today, they're the best team in the country. Now, you get a big test this weekend, but the test is not as bad as you thought, because I think going into the season, we thought OU would be they'd be okay. They'd be a competent football team, but they weren't. So the defense is going to be fresh. Oh no, yeah. I mean, no. I would clearly say I think that right now they're the only team we've seen that you can go. I think you're in the elite category.
Got you. And then hey, like you said, next week will be a tough one, and we got another tough one out. After that, we got to go to Nashville and face Opavia, our boy, and see how that works out. But hey, we'll touch on all that on Tuesday some more and have fun with it. Anything else I want to close out with, fellas?
Of course, the service schools came in and cleaned up shop. That's all I'm going to say there. Army came in and whooped that ass.
As al-
Yeah, as always. I'm going to touch on them. And of course, my Heisman favorite, Ashton Genty, had 217 rush yards yesterday. And he also caught a receiving touchdown. So he's not like Derrick Henry. He can actually catch the ball, too.
Yeah, I actually said that too.
But
Yesterday when he had over 90 yards in the first quarter, I was like, man, go ahead and send this kid the high. I think he's gonna win it.
Yeah.
Lights out.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's playing out of his mind. But I mean, we can touch more on that on Tuesday, of course. What about Tennessee and Florida?
Oh, dude, yes, I forgot about that one. That was
Florida held Tennessee in the first half, shut them out.
Not
And what did we talk about? The one reason they'd win that game was because of Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson ended up rushing for 120 rush yards, and he had 3 touchdowns to end up getting them the win in overtime.
Tennessee.
So a shitty Florida team took Tennessee to overtime. I get it's a rivalry game, but it's in Tennessee's house, and you let them damn near beat you. So Tennessee's got a lot to figure out. But that's all I'm going to say on that. We can touch on that later, but because I'm not going to open that can of worms.
Yeah. All I got to close this out today is I drank a lot of beers yesterday. I'm getting back on the beers today. New day in New Orleans. Spencer Rattler gets his first career start. Rat that, who that. Texas needs to get bad advice on how to fix the oblique injury. And you tell him, like, hey, maybe, like, see what you can do for it. Man, I'm jacked up about it. I'm about to be back on these beers, boys. About to be back on them hot and heavy. I'm ready to go. I'm going to get red beans and rice, some seafood nachos. I'm getting queso. I'm getting boudin. I'm getting buckets of beers. Spencer Rattler makes his debut today, and it's a beautiful day for it.
Who are the Saints playing? They playing the Browns?
The Buccaneers.
That should be a good game. Oh yeah, because it's Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore.
It's fight week.
Yeah,
We are.
for sure. They duke it out every time they play. It'll be a good one. It'll be a good one for sure. But all right, fellas, we'll close it out, and then we'll be back with you guys on Tuesdays as always. And have fun with it. Y'all have a good one. Welcome.